The climate expedition started off as a simple idea. What if adventure was more than just a challenge? What if it could also reconnect us with the climate? Not as something to fight against, but as something that we could learn from and build resilience with. We fundamentally believe that climate should be viewed as an asset, not a liability. So for the last 3 years, we've taken on a new journey in one of the 8 different climate zones around Australia to explore that relationship, pushing ourselves in different ways while opening up conversations about resilience, adapting and connecting with the climate and the human spirit. But first, who the bloody hell are we?
Beau Frith calls himself a climate designer, managing director at Natural Cool Air. He knows a lot about airflow and is determined to make an impact around cooling industrial spaces and cities more sustainably. He's a devoted husband who loves to travel. He wears a lot of hats to run our small Australian business: salesman, admin, manager, product development, climate designer, glasser, producer, a creative, a musician, an ideas man. He has a lot of ideas, but needs help to execute them.
Here we have Reese Woodland, the creative director at Natural Cool Air and my brother-in-law. Husband and father of 3. He's tried just about everything creative you can.
Everybody's so creative.
Drawing, painting, photography, acting, editing, filming, directing. He's versatile rather than specialised, but his positivity is infectious and he puts it to good use here at Natural Cool Air. So, what do you think we should do this season for the expedition?
I don't know. We've hiked the Aussie 10 in the snow and we've done a kayak in the Whitsundays. You mentioned bikes the other day.
All right, here's the play. 1,200 clicks across one of the flattest, hottest, most isolating stretches of dirt on Earth, the Nullarbor. Latin for no trees, apparently. No shade, no mercy, just wind, the wheels, and willpower. Why? Because resilience doesn't grow on beanbags and Wi-Fi. You've got to break the body and build the mind. You've got to go where it's uncomfortable, and I mean properly uncomfortable. All right then, so here's the pitch. We'll cycle across the Nullarbor, starting in Norseman, WA, finishing in Ceduna in South Australia. That's 1,200 kilometres. You think we could do it?
But hold up, this isn't just about the ride. We need more. Cameras, partnerships, education, emotion, beauty. Interviews along the way. What if this time we raise money for mental health, like TIACS? And we bring in experts on psychology, resilience, even fear. Not just the science of pushing on, but the why behind it. We show the quiet moments too, the breakdowns, the dust, the doubt. It's not easy. Anything worth doing never is. Because that's where the gold is. That's what our audience needs to see. Yes. Let's also raise funds for TIACS, start some conversations around mental health, tradies doing it tough, mates checking in on mates. We don't just ride the Nullarbor, we become it.
Reese, you son of a bitch.
You might be wondering, what does a fan manufacturer have to do with these expeditions? Well, at Natural Cool Air, we believe that climate is an asset to help buildings cool down without air conditioning. We also believe that we need to build physical resilience to the climate. So these challenges felt like the perfect way to put our money where our mouth is. To get out in nature, push our boundaries and our resilience, and hopefully inspire you to do the same.
We're not pro cyclists, we're not sponsored athletes. We're just 2 blue collar lads with a couple of cameras and a crazy idea. But that's the point. It's not about medals, it's about meaning. It's about grit, it's about brotherhood.
Research shows that perseverance isn't just a mindset. It's built into the brain. It relies on networks in the prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate cortex. Systems that regulate focus, evaluate effort versus reward, and keep us committed to long-term goals. Motivation itself is chemical. Dopamine fuels our drive, helping us stay focused, reinforcing progress, and pushing us forward when things get hard. But here's where things get more interesting. These systems aren't fixed. They're plastic, which means the brain literally adapts to effort, to failure, to persistence over time. Every challenge you face, every setback you move through, every moment you choose not to quit is shaping the way your brain works. In other words, grit isn't something you're born with. It's something your brain builds. And out here on this ride, that's exactly what we're trying to do. One climb, one headwind, 1 kilometre at a time. Because resilience isn't built alone. It's shaped by the people who guide us, challenge us, and help us go further than we ever thought we could. That's why we spoke to those who understand resilience from the inside out. Ed Ross and Dan Allen, founders of TIACS and Trademark, changing the conversation around mental health. Dr. Gemma King, stress researcher and advisor, unpacking how stress shapes performance. James Ray from Spoken Trail, who helped build the machines carrying us across this journey. Kevin Brown, strength and conditioning coach, preparing our bodies to endure what's ahead. Rebecca Harwood, EMS Australia and the Bike Shop, and the one backing us every kilometre of the way as our support driver. And Ali Flynn, leadership coach and the host of the Challenges That Change Us podcast, exploring how adversity transforms who we become.
It's a very big question.
For this ride across the Nullarbor, choosing the right bike was huge. We needed something tough enough to handle the 1,200 kilometres of rough, unpredictable road, but also light and fast enough to keep us moving day after day. That's why we teamed up with the crew at Spoken Trail Noosa.
So we've got you guys going on the Specialized Diverge. That's a gravel adventure bike platform. So essentially you want something that's durable. The durability, because you're hanging a lot of load off the bikes on those kind of adventures, and then you're smashing the Ks out as well. So there'll be potholes, there'll be all sorts of stuff on the road, but you still want something that's relatively efficient as well. So the road bike, sort of gravel bike platform for you guys, it's going to be good if you're smashing into a headwind for a day. But then if you want to duck off and do a little sidetrack and go explore some views or whatever, it'll let you do that. Like, I think the right gear really helps you to push through, because you're focusing on the physicality of it, and like you're like pushing and putting all your power into it. And then when it's raining sideways and you're pushing into a headwind, if you're not worrying about your hands hurting or your feet hurting or something, that it's just one less thing that you have to overcome when you're out there. So I would just make sure that you've got a good setup of spares and tools with you, so you can bush mechanic your way out of any situations that you come across out there. So things like your chain breakers are really important, and the quick links, because yeah, if you pop a chain out there, you're pretty well done for. The spare derailleur hanger is a good one as well. If you happen to have a tumble or your bike falls over, it can bend it, and then that's a day ender for you. But essentially looking across your bike at all the things that could fail and having redundancies for that stuff. Yeah, you're kind of limited by what you can carry, but yeah, have redundancies in place for as many things as you can, and that'll really help you guys get there in the end of the day.
These bikes are built for adventure. They've got the speed of a road bike, the strength of a gravel bike, and the comfort that we'll need for the long haul ride. The guys at Spoken Trail really helped us dial everything in. The tyres, the new seats, clips and shoes to go with it. So when we're out there pushing through the cold, the heat, the headwinds and the endless road, we can focus less on the gear and more on the ride. and the resilience it takes to get to the other side. To take us through some of this training, we once again jump in with Kevin Brown at Lift in Nambour. So you've designed a workout to help us prepare. Can you walk us through how it's targeting strength and injury prevention?
So general preparedness, obviously you've got the work part, like specificity that we always like to talk about in sport. You guys been going out, you've been doing all your cycling work. When you come into the gym and the program that I have designed you, it's just going to be all about range of motion. So you're going to be in that locked up position, everything's going to be shortened. We just want to try and keep you supple. So particularly in your lower extremities, so obviously your hip flexors, your hamstrings, your quads, they're all going to be shortened, they're all going to be tight. The program that I've designed is just going to be about lengthening, keeping you strong in very vulnerable positions. So I always really love incorporating mobility into my workouts. So we'll go through a mobility routine to start off with that's going to be specific for you guys. So particularly in your hip flexors, that's where you guys are going to be the tightest. And the last one that you did with the rowing, just being in that sort of seated position, everything's going to be tight. So we'll go for a little bit of mobility. And then the workouts that we're going to do things like step ups. You think about cycling, there's a lot of unilateral work. You're never going to have your feet together. You're never pushing off at the same time. So we're going to do a lot of unilateral strength work. So one thing I've incorporated myself, do things like step ups, Bulgarian split squats, reverse lunges, walking lunges. And then we're going to do things like Cossack squats. That's going to get you really strong in through your hips. And then at the end, we're just going to finish off with some Copenhagens, which are really good for hip flexors, hip stability, and we want you to be stable as well through your hamstrings at different lengths. So particularly as I talked about, you're going to be in that lengthening, shortening position when you're cycling. We just want you to be strong in those upper extremities of your hips, and then obviously through your hamstrings, through different ranges of motion.
What's the biggest mistake that we would make when training for an endurance challenge?
Yeah, under preparing. You'll see quite a lot of people when they go into endurance events, they just don't prepare. They just think, oh, I've seen this online. Oh, how hard can that be? Like a really good example is Ned Brockman. He ran 120 Ks every day for like a month or whatever he did. And people will go, oh, okay, well, I can do 50 Ks without training for it, because he did 100 Ks every day for a month, so that's not hard. So I'm just going to sign up for a 50K race, and I'm going to do it in a month. I think people underestimate, and they have that naivety that, oh, I can just go out and do that, and I don't really need to train too hard for it. I think people need to get it in their head that this is, like, which you guys have done. You need to get it in your head, this is going to be really hard. And even over prepare for something, you know, you want to have too much food. You want to have trained a little bit too much going into an event instead of under preparing. I'm not saying you should overtrain, but definitely I'd rather be over prepared, done a lot of training and need a bit more of a deload going into the event rather than, oh my God, it's next week, I'm going to have to start pumping up the volume. So yeah, definitely under preparation. But everything that I'll program you will be for a purpose.
Battles today.
Between work and as much training as we could manage,
We're tackling a century ride today, and we've just made it to Bly from Yandina. Whew.
we stopped by Razorback Homestead to chat with Dr. Gemma King about stress, resilience, and keeping your mindset on track when things get tough. As part of raising funds for TIACS and starting these conversations, we wanted expert insight, not just for this ride, but for anyone facing something big.
Yes, so I do lots of things, but primarily I'm a researcher in psychophysiology. So that's really how your brain and your body interact, and then how that then plays into how your behavior and how you interact with other people at work, just more generally in your life. So traditionally, psychologists were over there and then physiologists were over there, and they kind of didn't meet. But I thought it just made sense to have a more holistic perspective of someone's life. And I know, your brain, your physiology follows your psychology, and your psychology follows your physiology. So there's a very bi-directional relationship that I think once you understand it, you can really use that information to, push yourself harder, or know when not to push yourself too hard.
Also, I'm so pumped about this because it's like a lot about what we have been intuitively thinking ourselves.
Yeah.
And the more and more research and the more people like you that we meet that are like, no, there's research to back this.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, wow. So it is really remarkable. So thank you so much.
I think the unifying thread between all of these populations is stress. High performers have to deal with stress. So, and stress doesn't discriminate or differentiate. And I think, if you can help anyone in a high stress, no fail environment how to manage stress, they'll perform much better. So that's really, I'm a stress researcher. Yeah.
Well, and I connect with that too, because a lot of what we do is around, as a company, is around heat stress management. So when it comes to actually from a physiological perspective, understanding like how to support a lot of blue collar workers and helping them keep hydrated and thermally safe in hot conditions. Kind of what stemmed a lot of the ideas that we have around these climate expeditions, because we're like, well, what does climate actually do to the human body? Does our body adapt to it? Does it not? How do we actually deal with those stresses or responses?
Yep.
Being on a roof in the middle of summer, lifting stuff for 12 hours a day is hardcore, and it gets played off as just get on with it.
Oh, it's exhausting.
And it's like, I think that a lot of those stresses these people just have little to no understanding on how to prepare, perform, and recover from those conditions. Yep. And so you just think, oh my God.
A meat pie, a ciggy, and a chocolate milkshake is like
not a hydrated body. Not a hydrated body it makes.
Yeah.
But look, we'll go back into like you've spent years researching resilience.
Yeah.
What's your definition of it, and how is it different from just mental toughness?
Yeah, so resilience is really the notion of coming back from something catastrophic that took you off your normal trajectory, something painful, something that really shifted your perception of reality, or something that physiologically hurt your body, psychologically hurt you. So it's the act of coming back from pain and suffering. Where mental toughness, I think it's more of a personality disposition. So, all people who are mentally tough are resilient, but not all resilient people are mentally tough, because mentally tough people see things as a challenge. They see it as something almost exciting to get over, or they even look for difficult situations. Where resilient people didn't necessarily look for something happened to them, but they've just worked out a way of getting through it. So I think that we all need to have a situation where we're faced with the need to be resilient. And I think modern society is taking away all of those opportunities, especially for kids. We need tough times, we need contrast. We need to know what we're made of. Otherwise, we're really boring and just weak.
Where do you see the line between stress that builds you and stress that breaks you?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And this is something that when we were working with the, elite military and elite sport, is that they very much wanted to work out before the event. So stress inoculation training is a big thing. That's what all the special forces do all the time. It's just like basically finding out where is your line between eustress, good stress, the stress that actually is enhancing, that makes you perform better, and where is your breaking point. And you don't really know it, that point, until you've actually tested it. And you can actually slightly push that line with training, with habituation. And so it really is very individually dependent. And so there's a lot of things that go into your stress coping repertoire. And so test yourself, test your limits before you get to that event, if you're doing a big event. And then you have to have what we call interoceptive ability. So you need to really understand where your body is at, understand your stress triggers, understand that there's like a curve of optimal performance, underactivation, perfect activation, and overactivation. So you've got to know what are the signals when your body is actually getting too activated, too exhausted, too hot, too cold, too hungry, too sleep deprived, and then you've got to know where that position is. No one else can tell you that. And then you have to be very cognizant of where that line is. And then each time you train, you try and push that line a little bit further and habituate to that pain. So that's my ideas on stress.
Yeah, awesome. Having never cycled these distances really before, it took us about 8 months to really train and prepare for what was coming. Faster! We originally had my dad Dean down as our support driver, but unfortunately 3 months before we were set to leave, he suffered a stroke. Don't worry though, he is okay and is making a recovery, but it just put him out of action to be our support driver for the event. So while Dean was recovering, we put the call out on Instagram to find the right person. So we are looking for one awesome person to join us as a support driver and motivational guru.
Time to build some resilience, boys! And actual co-piloting Frith, but we didn't get it on camera last season.
When our mate Beck Harwood put her hand up to jump in with us, we were really stoked. Her wealth of knowledge and experience around sporting and outdoor events is incredible. And the fact that her and her husband Ian own the bike shop was just an added bonus. You answered our call as a support driver, and we're so grateful for that.
I'm fairly busy most of the time. When I saw the call, I went, oh, yeah, sure, I won't have a free weekend. And it actually did. So for me, it's kind of the universe going, well, you're free, you may as well go do it and help you guys out because, I really support you guys in what you're doing, trying to engaging with that in the climate rather than trying to fight the climate. So I think the messaging was really cool. I think when we're out on driving around, people wanting to sponsor you while you're out there and donate while you're out there and while you were doing it. So I think it was. You couldn't say no, really. So.
We think we are as prepared as we possibly could be, but now that we're actually landed in Perth, the anticipation is real. Thank God Beck's here with us to support us through it.
We got to our hotel in Perth for the night, got all loaded up, got our groceries, and tried to get a restful night's sleep. Because we're getting up early the next day for the long, nearly 7-hour drive out to Norseman.
Arrived in Norseman about 5 p.m. We got here, we've eaten dinner and our bikes are now set. We built them in Perth yesterday just in case we had any parts that we were missing, but we just checked them over and everything now. We've added lights so we can actually ride in the dark. That's the most important thing because we'll be riding in the dark tomorrow morning first thing. Now tomorrow, day 1, 190 Ks. Check that. 190 kilometres tomorrow between Norseman and Balladonia. Going to be pretty brutal because most of it, or more than half of it, is actually incline. So it's going to be pretty hard on us tomorrow. Our longest day for the whole expedition, but we're a little bit nervous. But yeah, we're getting stuck in. We're happy.
We can do it.
Ew.
It's so far you can see it from space.